Good evening, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reich, and this is Crime Talk. Thank you for joining us here tonight on a Wednesday evening. I know, one day late from our normal Tuesday night show. Sometimes things come up, and well, we try to be here every week. And this week, we're just doing it on Wednesday. So thank you for joining us. I appreciate that. First, I guess we'll start off. Why did we have to continue it until Wednesday? Well, I got tickets yesterday to go see an advanced showing of Top Gun. And I know if anyone knows, has been, watching this channel for a while, they know that I love aviation, that I fly. We have a little Crime Talk 1 airplane. And I literally have been waiting 35 years for Top Gun for the sequel. Okay. At least 2, since they know they had delayed it over COVID because you had to have that theater experience. And I would totally agree with it. Well worth the wait. Not going to give away all the storyline, but just say great movie, worth the wait. If it was up to me, I would give it Best Picture, Best Screenplay, Best Cinematography, Best Actor. But that's just me. I'm a little biased on that. I'll just tell you the way it is because I just love it. I can tell you, I saw the original Top Gun the summer of 1987. I graduated from high school. I went out to California to work for my uncle, who had just recently got out of the Marine Corps as an A4 pilot. And he had started a company because the airlines weren't really hiring at the time. And he took me flying and I was hooked. And then I got to we went to see Top Gun. And he was like, well, that's not really, normal, real. I was like, I didn't care. I just thought it was the coolest movie ever. And I literally was like, oh, I want to be a pilot. And for those who've been around know that I wanted to fly in the military, but it didn't come to be. And so now I just live vicariously through my son, who is finishing up becoming an F-16 pilot. And then we'll be heading out to the fleet to go defend all of us, so to speak. So that's why we weren't here last night. The lovely Miss Kristen and I enjoyed the movie. She enjoyed it. I had a fabulous time. I literally was grinning from ear to ear. One of the best days of my life. Let's just put it that way. And although I completely deny it, the lovely Miss Kristen said that she thought I was a little misty-eyed in one of my eyes, but that simply is not the case. It didn't happen. Okay. Great movie though. Go see it. I highly encourage it. Great movie. All right. So what else is going on in the world today? Well, I still think the big story today, that's right, Josh Duggar sentenced to 12 and a half years in prison. Now, the government wanted 20 years. And frankly, if he had the 600 images that were rather explicit, involving abuse and children, that probably warrants that. Okay. In my experience as a criminal defense attorney, I'm telling you, I can eat my dinner looking at autopsy photos. Doesn't bother me. The only time I literally felt ill to my stomach was once when I had to go look at images in a case very similar to a Josh Duggar type of case. And it is the most disgusting thing you have ever seen. Okay. We're not talking, we're talking children, ladies and gentlemen. And it is, it's the kind of stuff they don't even turn it over to us. You have to go view the evidence because as an attorney, you have an obligation to go look at the evidence, particularly when that's the issue in the case, and you have to be able to look at it and maybe get an expert sometimes to see, well, maybe it's close. Maybe, they're not really underage. Yeah. when they get into this stuff that young, I'm telling you, it is the most disgusting thing that you've ever seen. And you just kind of, wow. And you don't understand why would anybody want that stuff? Why would anybody get, what's the word I'm looking for? Why would somebody want to look at that stuff? It literally is just disgusting. There's nothing, a baby. I mean, who does that, right? Well, and there's no evidence that Mr. Duggar touched any children, but he sure had a lot of images on his computer, which would certainly give pause to anybody. And we put it up on TikTok. This was a video from almost a year ago, was it not? Yeah. Let's just take a quick stroll down memory lane to see how accurately we called it.
If he goes to trial and he were to lose, his guideline sentencing range would start at 108 months, right? What is that? 12 times 9, 108, right? About 9 years to 135. You can do the math, about 10 and a half. It can also go as high as 235 months, which is the maximum. That is how Josh Duggar is going to be advised by his attorneys as to whether he goes to trial or enters a plea. And if he goes to trial, remember, all of a sudden now he's at 12 years and he can always be up to 20.
Look at that. Who called it? This guy, right? 12 years, 12 and a half. Got pretty darn close. Why? Because that's what you get when you get experience, ladies and gentlemen, and you know what the heck you're talking about. Breaking down the federal sentencing guidelines there. Like I said, the government wanted the max. That probably wasn't going to happen. 5, that wasn't going to happen. Not when you go to trial. When you go to trial in federal court, you receive it's a trial tax, okay? You get a penalty for going to trial in the federal court system. And they tell you that. It's called acceptance of responsibility. On those federal sentencing guidelines, you get a 3-point reduction by pleading guilty and not making the government do their work. It's just the way it is. So we've got that we can talk about. Of course, we always have Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. There was a hearing today, but that was another sealed hearing. So we won't know what the outcome of that is unless something happens as well. And of course, we've got, Depp v. Heard. And according to Ann here, start with Depp. What can you say? I mean, what can you say? Well, let's just kind of reset here for people that may have just joined us and maybe aren't familiar with us, because we are also, I believe, going on Facebook this evening, which I might add, we just went over 200,000 subscribers on Facebook, which is amazing. Thank you all. And if you're on Facebook, thanks for joining us as well this evening. Looks like I have Adam joining us from Facebook from Australia. Like I said, Ann wants to start with Depp. Shell says, can't wait to see Top Gun. And Depp. Okay, now here's what we should talk about when it comes to Depp. Let me just reset. Okay, maybe for those of you who have not joined me in the past, my name is Scott Reich. I've been the host of Crime Talk for 4 years now. We started this at kind of the beginning of the Chris Watts case because I got so frustrated as to everything that was going on in that case. The news media was getting it so incorrect. I thought maybe this is our chance to kind of educate people on the legal process. And we were very fortunate. We had a couple of videos take off, and here we are today, still doing it. Wish it was a full-time job, but no, that's right. I still have, a day job, full-time practice, which sometimes interferes with putting up videos, but we try to do them on a daily basis. I've been doing criminal defense for 27 years. Okay. So if it's a crime, I am pretty confident that I have probably represented somebody over those years in that case. Do lots of homicide cases. I think we're up to 7 people of all charges in first-degree homicide cases over the years. And if you talk to a lot of criminal defense attorneys, they maybe get one in their lifetime. So when you have 7, not to brag, but that's pretty good. So yeah, that's what we do. And so we try to come in, try to obviously maybe entertain you a little bit, educate everybody, and we like everybody to join in, and we like everybody to have a good time, ask questions. That's what our show is here tonight. And if you become a Patreon member, well, then we'll give you the phone number, and we occasionally do that here, but not tonight. But feel free to send us a text. We will try to answer it. We don't beg for the super chats or anything like that. But if you do a super chat, I can tell you that it gets highlighted here on my screen, and more likely that I will, in fact, be able to answer that question. All right. So we'll do that. What do you want? Heard versus Depp? Okay. Now I've gotten into a little bit of trouble, so to speak, because I just don't know why this case is being brought forward. I get it. Mr. Depp wants to clear his good name, but the legal standard that Mr. Depp has to overcome is rather difficult. Okay. He is a public figure, and really, to be found guilty of defamation of a public figure, you have to be able to know that it was absolutely false, malicious, and you intended to do it. Okay. The First Amendment case that decides that was Hustler v. Falwell. And that was a case where Jerry Falwell was a minister at the time. He was the victim, as he described it, as of a satire cartoon that they published in Hustler magazine that alleged that he had sex with his mother in an outhouse. Okay. He goes to trial. Basically, court said that's free speech, but he wanted to show that he had emotional distress from that cartoon. He goes to court. He wins a nominal amount, goes all the way to the United States Supreme Court. And the United States Supreme Court says, no, you're a public figure. It's nearly impossible for you to ever collect because, well, you're a public figure and we have free speech here in America. And so the standard is very, very difficult. You have to show actual malice and complete recklessness when it comes to actually saying that what you thought wasn't, I believed it true. I had good faith believe it was true. Hey, they're a public figure. I can say anything I want about them, which is really what it kind of amounts to. So Johnny Depp has a very difficult time getting over that legal hurdle. Now, there's lots of people that have been watching this case very closely, and if it was up to them, they would say that Johnny Depp should be completely vindicated. Amber Heard, complete, what's the word? What's the nice word I'm looking for? Not a very honest person, not a nice person. I think we could even possibly catapult her to the top of the list of horrible human beings. Okay. I don't think this is going to do anything great for her career whatsoever. I think she's done. Okay. She certainly does not come across very well in this trial. But frankly, Johnny Depp hasn't come across great either. Let's face it, Johnny Depp, by his own admissions, stated that he had lots and lots of issues with drugs and alcohol. So there you have it. Can they both win? Can they both lose? If it were up to me, I would probably say, I'd say they both did terrible, bad things. Oh, the most important thing I forgot to mention was that if the jury believes that Amber Heard was the victim of just one count of domestic abuse, just one, she wins. That's it. Then the jury would go directly to whether her career was damaged by a smear campaign that allegedly Johnny Depp and his attorney had instigated against her, and whether she is entitled to $100 million in damages. That's a lot of money, ladies and gentlemen. That's a lot of money. I'm not sure why anyone would want to subject themselves. I think other than Johnny Depp saying it himself on the stand, that regardless of whatever happens, he knows that he got up and told the truth, or at least the truth that he remembers. Okay. One of the witnesses for Amber Heard, one of the doctors, said that, he represents somebody that obviously has some issues related to his drug and alcohol use. And basically, it's not uncommon when people have those issues that they don't remember things. All types of things that I have said early on that maybe he doesn't think he wants to think that he did, doesn't have any recollection. Bottom line, that's it. So if the jury believes, so when the jury, okay, Johnny Depp testified today. It's anticipated that Amber Heard will testify yet again tomorrow, more than likely in rebuttal to what Miss Moss said, where she's probably going to say that she told me that. I believed it to be reasonably true. It wasn't completely false, etc. But the thing that people have to remember is just because you think somebody is not telling the truth doesn't mean that they're necessarily not telling you the truth. That may be the way that they remember it. And I think that's what you have in the Heard Depp case. The only people, I mean, maybe Johnny Depp's getting a little bit of his career back, maybe a little bit of his reputation back. But the only people that are making out in this particular case are the attorneys. Okay. And I guarantee you, none of these attorneys are taking this on a contingency fee basis. They're saying, yep, we'll charge Johnny Depp $600,000 an hour to go try this case for the next 6 weeks. You betcha, and prepare for it and take depositions and make millions and millions of dollars. Although it was an objectionable question and never should have been put out there, when Amber Heard said that she didn't make her donation, her pledge to the charity, I think of the UCLA, of the $7 million. That's because she had spent, I think at that point, was it $5 million on attorney's fees, something to that effect? A lot of money. And everybody wants to go off and sue people. But the only people that truly enjoy suing people or litigation, the only people that really benefit from it at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, yes, here it is. I know it's hard to believe. The attorneys, okay? The attorneys will litigate until the money runs out. Civil litigation is a war of attrition. When the verdict comes out, and let's say one party gets a judgment against another party in this particular case, let's say Johnny Depp wins and he gets a $50 million judgment. What do you think the odds are of him actually collecting of a penny of that $50 million? Probably slim to none. Okay. Even if Amber Heard has any money left over after all of this, the question then becomes, well, why not just file for bankruptcy? And then that judgment is as, well, it's worth about as much as the piece of paper it's written upon. We'll have to wait and see. Got a super chat here. Kim wants to know, where will Josh Duggar do his time, and does he have to do the full 12 years? Great question, Kim. Josh Duggar is in the federal system. What's the significance of that? The significance of that is that he will serve 85% of the time that he is been sentenced to. So you have to remember, in some states, some people can be as early or eligible for parole about 30% into their sentence. So think about it. Let's just say for easy numbers, on a 10-year sentence on 85%, he's going to serve 8.5 years of that sentence. So on the 12.5, he's going to do probably close to 10. He'll get a little bit of time off, but for the most part, it's 85%. In some state courts, they oftentimes do, if it's a crime of violence, a violent crime, one would have to serve 75% until they were eligible for parole. Other states have situations where if it's nonviolent, you could be eligible for parole anywhere between 30 to 50% of the time once you've served your sentence. So once again, for easy numbers, you serve a 10-year sentence, or you're given a 10-year sentence by the judge. Let's say it's a drug offense. You have to remember, it costs the state roughly $35,000 per year to house each inmate in custody. Let's face it, the state's going to look to get rid of non-violent offenders, people that maybe are there because they just couldn't get their act together, probation, they failed at it miserably, what have you. So, let's save the money for the violent offenders. Let's not put the non-violent offenders in there, so that, they don't have to pay that money. So anywhere from 30 to 50%, but in the federal system, 85%. And the question then becomes, where will Josh Duggar serve his sentence? Good question. That decision is ultimately up to the Federal Bureau of Prisons. The judge can make a recommendation to the Bureau of Prisons and put it on the minimus, which is a fancy word for the judgment of conviction that tells the Bureau of Prisons to house somebody in their custody for the next 12 and a half years. That is a recommendation. Say, please, if possible, put him in a facility near his family. Here in the district that I practice in, here in Colorado, there is, lots of federal facilities here, one in the Denver metro area, and then a bunch down the southwestern part of the state. So it's not unusual for somebody to say, hey, judge, can I please stay here in the District of Colorado? Bureau of Prisons will accommodate that particular individual to stay near his family. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it does not. Most of the time, BOP tries to have people somewhere close to their release. However, if there are security issues, let's say if somebody has lots of gang involvement or enemies, they will move them anywhere in the country where there is a facility for them to go in a federal Bureau of Prisons facility. It just really depends on the availability. Given the circumstances in which Mr. Duggar will be heading to prison, they will oftentimes try to send them to facilities that house a lot of individuals with similar type of offenses. Okay. Now, I've talked to clients that have gone to prison. Okay. Because we can't get everybody off. It just doesn't happen that way. Sometimes they just got to go to prison. But all the stuff that you hear about sexual offenders not having a fun time in prison, my general understanding is that is very, very true. There's a hierarchy in prison where, you kill somebody, you got some status. You do drug crimes, rob banks, gangster type stuff, you're doing okay. But generally, as you go down the pecking order, and we probably have maybe some people that have been to prison, they can confirm this, but the reality of it is that they will be very, very low on that pecking order. Okay. Not going to be a good time at all for Mr. Duggar. Even if he is placed in a facility, people that abuse children and women generally are not high on that pecking order, and they can have a very, very difficult time to indeed. So, all right. I had a couple of super chats that popped up here, and I was talking and they went away, but I wanted to answer the question while I could. Can somebody help me out here on what those were?
Are Lori, Vallow, and Chad having their trial together? From Kayleen.
Okay, Kayleen, super chat there. Are Chad and Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow going to have their trial together? For those not familiar with the case, obviously, Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell are married. They got married shortly after the mysterious death of Tammy Daybell, Chad's wife of, I think, 25 years, died unexpectedly. And originally there was not anything done, but he, as it relates to the investigation or even an autopsy as it relates to his wife, it was just kind of, oh, she died. Boy, that's too bad. And then 7 days later, Chad married Lori Vallow. on a little wedding in Hawaii. Of course, Lori's two younger children, Tylee and JJ, at that point had already been kind of missing. The grandparents kind of asking, where are the kids? This is weird. And neither Lori nor Chad had any good explanation as to where the children were. Some of their belongings were put in a storage unit, but they weren't in Hawaii, which you would think, right? You take the teenage kid and the kid that's not the teenager, because, JJ's birthday is today. He would have been 10 years old today. And so Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell run off without the children, go to Hawaii. Ultimately, they're ordered back to the state of Idaho, or at least Lori is, to produce the children in what was kind of a child neglect case. She's brought back, still no answers where the children are. Ultimately, as things progress, people start getting more and more concerned. And lo and behold, they just happen to find the remains of JJ and Tylee on Chad Daybell's property, buried in various locations around the property. Now, Frank, the hardest working man in show business tonight, we flew out to the Idaho and checked out the property, because they make it sound like it's this huge, vast property. It's kind of a corner lot, and it's not that big. It's the kind of thing, if you saw somebody out there digging on that property, I think you would notice it. Wouldn't you, Frank?
Yeah.
I think you would have. Like, I almost be like, I wonder what Chad's digging a hole out there for. I wonder if he's going to plant a new tree or something. It's very noticeable. You would have to do it under the cover of darkness, so to speak, I guess, if under the cover of darkness, I guess, for no one to see it, but not that big a property. And so Chad gets arrested. Lori's already in custody. They get charged with, a couple of cases to kind of hold them in custody while they're doing their investigation. Ultimately, they are indicted for the deaths of JJ, Tylee, and also Tammy Daybell. And they made it a death penalty case because, well, basically the age of the children. And the biggest one, as relates to Chad, was that it was done for remuneration, money, right? He was to receive the insurance money, and they were also going to get the kind of disability payments that JJ was going to receive from the feds. So terrible case. They ultimately indict. Chad Daybell gets to arraignment, says not guilty. Lori never makes it to arraignment because his attorney files a motion saying that Lori Vallow is not competent. Lori Vallow goes off to the state hospital for 10 months where they restore her to competency. What is competency in the legal system? Well, usually it's they hold up a mirror, and if you can fog that mirror, you're generally competent. If you can explain to the evaluator why you are in court, what are your charges, what are the general penalties that you could receive, probation, community corrections, prison, what are the roles of the prosecutor, defense attorney, and the judge, and even the jury. Most people could get that from their civics class, or it's been explained to them as they've been making their way through the criminal justice system. Well, that's competent, okay? But you also have to be competent to be able to assist the attorney in the defense. And you'd say, well, that was such a raging party. I completely blacked out and I have no idea what happened that night. And therefore, I am not competent to proceed. No, it doesn't work that way, okay? Basically, what it means is that, let's say you want to go in and talk about all of the discovery, all the police reports, body cam videos with your client, and say, let's take a really close look at the discovery because we need to be able to see if we have any defenses to this case. And the client just simply will not want to talk about it, want to talk about everything else in the world, not concerned about it. it's a weird thing when you've had a client that is deemed to be not competent, and you really, it's sometimes it's very obvious. Okay. And I'm telling you, you go in and you talk to him, and literally the guy's having a different conversation with a third person in the room, and there's only two of you in there, and you find out, oh, he's not on his, say for example, his medication for his schizophrenia. Judge, he's not competent, but I think he'll be restored as soon as he gets back on track with his medication. Okay. But some people, they're just in a delusional alternate state of reality where they just believe what they want to believe, and that is it. Okay. So sometimes it's very obvious. Sometimes it takes several meetings with your client to determine if they are in fact competent to proceed or not. And it took Lori Vallow's attorney almost a year and a half before he even filed the motion to raise the issue of competency. Now, I think in the case of Lori Vallow, it's also coincidental that when the court appointed one of her new attorneys, Mr. Archibald, was the same times that her former attorney, Mark Means, was on the case. As soon as Mr. Archibald came on, there was a motion for competency. I don't know who, I think it was Mark Means that filed it, but Mr. Archibald came on right about that same time when they said it was going to go death. And they basically determined that Mark Means was not qualified to do a death penalty case because he had never done really a criminal case, certainly not any felony cases. So the question is really, it's a long, big background, but the reality of it is, are these two, Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell, going to have a trial together? Chad Daybell has previously waived speedy trial, and his trial is now set to commence, I think, on January 9th of 2023. Lori Vallow, upon her return from the state hospital, appeared in court for an arraignment. Basically, everybody asked, well, you're going to waive speedy trial, right? And she's like, no, not going to do it. The court asked the attorney, what are you going to do? She said, she doesn't want to waive. I would like to have more time, but the reality of it is, Judge, I can't force Miss Vallow to waive speedy trial. She is unwilling to waive her speedy trial rights, even knowing that the defense team wasn't even able to really get started until the arraignment because of some rules that they have in Idaho there, that basically they can't fund their defense team until they get to an arraignment. And so there you have it. The question is, well, the court says, well, she's not going to waive speedy trial. We're going to set a trial date in October. Specifically, I believe it was October 3rd for her trial to begin. Now, the prosecution, okay, really wants these cases to go one time, and they want them to be in January. The prosecution has made their argument that, Judge, it's charged as a conspiracy. The court has said this should remain together as a conspiracy. But if you allow two trials to take place because Lori Vallow didn't waive a right to speedy trial, she's basically getting a de facto severance and some evidence maybe that's admissible against Chad may not come in because it's not admissible against her. So she's really getting the benefit of being able to not have a severed trial from Chad Daybell. And Chad Daybell, remember, his attorney wants a severed trial. He wants to go alone. Of course you do. Okay, because the defense for Lori and Chad, Lori's going to blame probably her brother, Alex Cox, who's now deceased, saying that he's the one that probably killed these children. And he's the one that was, the violent one and did these terrible things. And as a mother, I wouldn't do that. In fact, I was crazy at the time, and I was manipulated, etc. But no way would I ever harm my children. Then you got Chad's going to say, wow, I didn't know what was going on. She and her brother were crazy. And I kind of went along with it because, he's 50-something-year-old guy. Kids are gone, married to his wife. Lori Vallow comes along, pretty attractive, rocks his world, and just gives it all up for her, right? He's going to say, I was completely in love, being controlled by lots of things, but my heart or my brain not being one of them. And that Alex Cox guy is really, really bad and dangerous. And it's unfortunate he's dead, but I didn't do anything to hurt my wife, and I certainly wouldn't have done anything to hurt Tylee and JJ. So the question is, are they going to have a separate trial? Well, the question really becomes, I think we'll know within the next week or so. The court has heard the arguments. The defense says for Lori Vallow, Judge, we would like to go and waive speedy trial, but our client won't do that. We can't force her. And, we're ready. We'll go in October if that's what we have to do. Chad Daybell says, I don't want to go in October. I have my trial date set. That's what I'm prepared for. The prosecution is saying, Judge, sure, the rules say you have to have a trial before 6 months from the date that she says not guilty under the speedy trial statute. But there's been some case law that says, Judge, you could probably get away with a continuance because under Idaho case law, there's been a couple of cases where they've extended it, where witnesses weren't available. It was just a couple of weeks. So no harm, no foul, Judge. Don't worry about it. And as I have tried to point out, I think that is a very dangerous argument for the prosecution to make, because if the appellate courts get this case at some point because there is a conviction and the judge is wrong and they say, nope, you violated her speedy trial rights, because it wasn't just a couple of weeks, it was 4 months. And it wasn't because they had witnesses unavailable. It's because the prosecution wasn't ready. The Court of Appeals could say, you violated her speedy trial rights, case dismissed. So I think the judge puts himself in a precarious position if he does that. I would think the more safe position would be is saying, guess what, everybody? We're all going in October. That would be the safest way to do it. Or the judge says, I understand the position of the prosecution. You don't want to try this case again or twice. You don't want to have to bring the family members in to have 2 trials. It's emotionally stressful, etc. But the court's going to say there's both a statutory and constitutional right to a speedy trial. And by pushing it out to that far, there may be constitutional issues, not to mention statutorily. And I think the judge, who's been very, very conservative thus far in this case, is not going to do anything that is going to push this case to where there's going to be legal issues that can basically make the case go away. Lori Vallow is really in a position if she's got the best of both worlds. Her attorneys are going to say, well, we really didn't have that much time to prepare for a death penalty case, but we'll do our best. But don't waive speedy trial, Judge. And we will, be ready to go. And if you continue it, you give us a great appellate issue. So she's in a very, very good spot. If her attorneys aren't prepared, they can be found ineffective. If the judge moves it, he potentially waives speedy trial, or doesn't waive speedy trial, but he violates her speedy trial right. And there you go. Maybe she walks out free. So when everyone's getting all hot and heavy, like, oh, they should just do this. Well, there's rules that we have to live by. It's called the Constitution. It's called statutes. And, you need to follow the rules. And that's the state's job. And I guess that some people don't like it. I'm of the position that the prosecution should just say, Judge, we don't care if we have to do it twice, 3 times, 4, whatever. We will do that. Anytime, anywhere. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hopefully that answers the question. Holly says, I totally told my, assume that's boyfriend or best friend last night, that my guess for sicko Duggar was around 12 years. So glad for the many victims in that horrific case. Yes, because, the law recognizes that, those photographs, that are passed around is that, that's really everyone, re-victimizing those children over and over and over again every time that goes on. There's been people that have been identified in those child exploitation cases where they actually try to sue the people that are in possession of images of where they can identify people. And I think they've had limited success because, let's face it, a lot of the people, by the time they get through the criminal justice system, have no more money to take. So Kelly Murphy, I'm assuming she's talking about the Depp trial. Waste of time, shouldn't be in the news, disgusting. I don't want to, what I have figured out is talking about the Depp v. Heard case is kind of like talking about politics at the Christmas dinner table. No matter what you do or you say, you're going to offend 50% of the people at the table. That's why when you talk about politics, you offend 50% of the people. So you really can't take, what's the word I'm looking for? Mr. If you go against Mr. Depp, everybody hates you. That's at least what I found out early on in this case when I thought, why are we doing this case? These both are, they both have issues in this case. They're airing their dirty laundry because they're still not over anybody. Yeah. Marcia wants to know the question that we get asked quite a bit as a defense attorney, Scott. I bet it's really hard to represent people like Duggar, rhymes with hugger, who I bet's going to be getting lots of hugs when he's in the Federal Bureau of Prison, probably in the shower, I'm sure. Can it be difficult? As a defense attorney, always remember and never forget, defense attorneys are there protecting not only the accused rights that may be, the defendants are the despised and the damned. I get it, but they're entitled to due process. And that's the type of situation where, what's the word I'm looking for? The defense attorneys don't necessarily approve of the client. Sometimes the defense attorney may actually despise the client just as much as the public does. But guess what? They're professional and they're making sure that the defendant's rights are protected. I've said this once and I'll say it again. Okay. All those defense attorneys, the public defenders out there representing people every day saying, you know what, judge, the government can't do that. That's a violation under the law. It's a violation of the Constitution. And you know where those cases ultimately wind up someday? In the United States Supreme Court. And, it's arguments being made by those public defenders, the court-appointed attorneys, the retained defense counsel saying, you can't do this. But everybody in the heat of the motion, the heat and emotion at the time, like, let's do this. But remember, if we allow, as a society, we allow the government to railroad guilty people, ladies and gentlemen, they will then start doing it to innocent people. I'm telling you, they will try to get away with it. They being the government. No one in the government ever gets up in the morning and says, you know what? I think the people need a little more power to themselves. They don't do that. Okay. I don't think I've ever seen it. I rarely have ever seen even legitimate bad stops where DAs will say, well, I don't think that was that bad of a case, and they just don't do it. They never admit the government makes mistakes. We all know the government makes mistakes. We all know police make mistakes. Judges make mistakes. DAs make mistakes. Defense counsel make mistakes. Defendants oftentimes make big mistakes. All right. But the reality is you got to give them due process of law. Okay. So yes, Marcia, some days it can be tough, but you have to do it. It's called being a professional defending the Constitution. Then we have Captivate Us. See if I can click on this. So maybe I have to undo that one. Let me do this one. Super chat says, Scott, love this show and your analysis. Scott, hope I never need a criminal defense reporter, but if I did, I'd hire you. Thank you. I hope you never, ever need to hire a criminal defense attorney. But remember and never forget, either you or someone maybe a family member, good friend, sometime throughout their life would need a criminal defense attorney. Okay. And I am of the mindset, I don't care if you're charged with a speeding ticket. Don't do it yourself. Okay. Certainly, if you're charged with a felony, that's crazy. Don't do that. Juana Michelle question. Am I to understand that the amount of images Josh Duggar had is considered a lot when compared to other people being tried for the same crime? Side note, everyone has something to say about defense lawyers until they need one. That's right, Juana Michelle. Everybody hates us till they need us. But then, we are the best thing that they've ever heard of. And you start doing things like, I don't know, defending the Constitution. Oh, crazy concept. Crazy concept. It just never amazes me how many people they'll want to give up their constitutional rights so easily. But the question, yes, Juana, the question is a lot of images. Okay. What is a lot of images? It was presented at trial that Josh Duggar had downloaded some 600 images. Okay. And as I understand it, and I have not seen these images, nor do I want to see them, because unless somebody's paying me as a client, I have no desire to see that stuff. It is just gross. Okay. You in the federal sentencing system, it matters if you're convicted. Yes, you have the crime, but then under the federal sentencing guidelines, they have calculations based upon the number of images. Okay. Now you have to remember the people that engage in this collection of this inappropriate images, and we're using that so we don't get banned. Okay. From Facebook and YouTube, all that kind of good stuff is it matters. Okay. The more you have obviously means probably the longer you've been doing it, the less likely it was just randomly downloaded to your computer. Right. It matters. I've seen cases where people have had thousands, tens of thousands of images. Okay. And the reason why people keep this stuff is because it's not like you can run down to the local store and pick it up off the shelf. So it almost becomes like their prized possession. You've ever seen anybody like they collect comic books or trading cards? That is literally kind of like what this is. And it's just disgusting. And I'm telling you, like I said, we're not talking something where somebody's like, oh, well, they're, inappropriate, like 15 or 16. I understand these images to be children under the age of 3. Okay. And you can probably imagine if they're being tortured and things like that. And I'm telling you, it's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. I had one case where I just couldn't believe it. And these guys, they're sick. Okay. And something's not right. They're not wired correctly. Okay. And they literally talk amongst themselves on these chats and things of that nature. And the reason why they'll tell you, they put it in these chats. Okay. And this is from 27 years of criminal defense, most disgusting thing I've ever seen. They will literally say, you have to get them when they're young. Well, they don't have a memory of it. They can't articulate. Okay. That's the kind of people that you're dealing with, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not trying to be rude or crass, I'm just telling you, this is what you have to put it in perspective. Okay. At one point I said, yes, I think I'll probably get 12 years. He got 12 and a half. At one point, somebody asked me, what would you give him if you were the judge? And I said, I would give him enough time that all of his children are no less than 18 years of age. I think his youngest daughter's like 2 or something. A few months. I would have given him 18. So that he would not be around anyone under the age of 18, at least for his family member. That's just me. But, I get called out when I say stuff that I've seen over the years, and some people don't like it, so to speak. They don't like the facts. They don't like the truth. One of the things I love about being a criminal defense attorney is you go to court, guess what? You get to talk about the elephant in the room. You're the one that gets to get up and ask those questions that people are like, "Ooh, you can't say that. That's not very correct. You could offend somebody." Well, guess what? I don't care if I offend anybody if we are getting to the truth for a case. That's what defense attorneys do. Okay. I literally tell people in voir dire, you may not like me, you may not ask the questions, you may not like the questions or the manner in which I ask them, but we're here to seek the truth. And if you can't deal with that, let me know, because we'll get you off this jury right now. But if you want to be, involved in one of the most important things you've ever done in your life, answer the questions truthfully in voir dire. Do you think you can listen to the truth? Do you think that you can, as a potential juror, listen to the evidence, reserve judgment until you hear all the evidence in the case, and then follow the court's instructions? Most people want to do that. A lot of people can't. Um, some people say, well, if you say that, you just can't do it. It's going to offend people. You can't do it, but it's a fact. Okay. And the other thing, if you want to talk about things that really upset me, we'll get to one of the super chats where somebody asked about Letitia Stalk, which is a homicide case going on here in Colorado Springs. But this guy, what's his name? He's this coward, complete piece of garbage. His name's Salvador Ramos. He's the one that killed all those innocent little children there in Texas. Okay. Killed them. People are like, don't say his name. He'll go down in infamy. No, I'm of the mindset that people should say this guy's name so that they know what a coward he is, to go in and do what he did to a bunch of innocent children who had never done a single thing to this guy whatsoever. And the teachers that are in there trying to protect those children. And he goes in there and does that. People are like, well, don't say his name. No, people should know his name, and he should forever be remembered as an absolute coward, that he goes in and he kills little children. That's what he should be known for. Don't forget about him. Don't erase him. His name should be always known as a coward. And if anyone out there thinks that they want to go in and be a copycat or do something like that, let it be known, saying it right here, this will be my one-man war against all these cowards, is that they are cowards. Don't go and harm little children. Don't go harm innocent women, children, men. It doesn't matter. What these cowards are doing, going into schools, going into grocery stores. Have you ever met a bigger wimp in your life? Are you serious? These guys are complete cowards, and that's what they should be known for. And they should be forever remembered for that, because, pick on somebody your own size, right? This guy, 18, sounds like a complete loser, right? Didn't graduate from high school, apparently got picked on, goes on his 18th birthday, purchases a bunch of firearms, attempts to kill his grandmother, puts on Facebook that he did that, and then he's going to go to a school. I mean, what a coward. Why didn't you go over to the police station if you want to have a shootout? You want to make it fair. No, these cowards, what do? They pick soft targets because they think it's going to make them feel like a big man. This guy is the biggest piece of garbage, and all the others that have done it before him. And if anyone thinks they're going to go copy it again, they're just cowards. They're wimps. And if these guys think that's what's going to make them known, yeah, I'll remember your name and I'll repeat it. And I'll say, you're a coward, Salvador Ramos, going in and murdering, let's call it for what it is, murdering innocent children. He's a scumbag, and that's what he should be remembered for. And people should always remember, don't be a Salvador Ramos because you butcher children. Bottom line is, that is just the biggest garbage thing around. And some people, oh, that's good. No, don't say his name. He'll go down in infamy. No, I'll say his name, and everybody before him that did it. You're a coward. You're a piece of garbage. You're not a man. You're just a little, People don't do that. Normal people don't do that. The world is a better place without this guy. The only problem is he had to go harm other people before he was ultimately killed by those heroes, the police officers, the border patrol agents that went in there. And since he has body armor on, I'm assuming he got a good headshot. The officers got a good headshot to him. So I hope that it was slow and painful for Salvador Ramos while he was there passing away. I hope it was anything but quick. Okay. He got what he deserved. I hope it was slow, miserable, and painful. And I'm sure YouTube and Facebook will censor us immediately. But the reality of it is the guy is just garbage. And I don't agree with the whole, let's not mention his name because that will, that'll make him famous. He should be being famous for the biggest coward in the world. And all of those people that want to go in and harm people, like we got that guy up here. We had in King Supers in Boulder, Colorado. We had the coward in Buffalo just last week. We've had the Harris and Klebold, all those people, the guy that ran the people down in Wisconsin in the Christmas parade, cowards. They're not going mano to somebody. They're not going at a duel with somebody. No, they pick on little kids. They find the softest targets, right? They find the weakest person in the room. What kind of a little wimp. I mean, there's lots of adjective, but it'll get me. I don't have a little bleep button here, but you know what I'm getting at. Cowards, each and every one of them. Picking soft targets, picking on little kids. That's just the most disgusting thing you could do. It really is. It just chaps my hide. And, this guy, I mean, I feel bad for his family. They didn't have anything to do with it, but, they should just, I hope they're just absolutely ashamed. Wipe this guy from their family for sure, because the rest of the world, maybe they get their names changed or something, but this is just, it just irritates me. Okay. And it wasn't the manner and mechanism that he used for his dastardly deeds. He would have done it anyway. Whether he was driving a car, he would have been doing something else. Okay. You could drop a pile of firearms and ammunition on 99.9% of the people's front lawn, and the neighborhood and the society is in no greater danger than before they arrived. But you got one guy. Apparently there's not a whole lot of history on the guy. Maybe he was bullied at school, something along those lines. But you know what? You got a problem with that. Go pick a fight with the guy. Do it like a man. I mean, but seriously, to go harm innocent little children who didn't do a damn thing. And, like I said, I just hope those border patrol agents, the guy had body armor. He had shot at a couple of police officers beforehand. I hope they got a couple of good headshots into this guy. I hope it hurt. I hope it was painful. And because he's a coward. Coward. All right. All right. Well, I feel better. Thanks for the rant, everybody. It's been so good. Let's see here. TMZ. Okay, that's jumping back here. Let's see here. We got lots of people from all over the country tonight. This is great. Let's see. Heard v. Depp. We talked about that. I guess we can talk about it more. We got Hertz, CrimeTalk. Tracy says, I think the Depp case is a waste of time. Yes. It's kind of like that car accident takes place. It slows everything down in traffic, and everybody, ooh, look at that. Whoa, look at that. The police, oh my gosh, look at that. You can't stop but look, right? But your day isn't any better. It's not like, maybe, okay? Did anybody really care about Amanda Heard beforehand? I don't even think I'd ever heard of her. Amber Heard. See, she's so forgettable. You can't even remember her name. And after this trial, they'll just remember Amanda Heard. Oh, wasn't she the one that got sued by Johnny Depp? Yeah. Did she ever win an Academy Award? No. Did she ever get nominated? No. I mean, the only thing she's going to be remembered here for is all of her hairdos that she shows up with every day. Bottom line, I mean, just crazy. I think it's a waste of time. Now, it is a good idea. Okay. I truly believe this. I've said it before. I will say it again. It is a wonderful, wonderful idea that trials should be televised. I truly believe that. I think everybody has a right to see what goes on in a courtroom. And yes, it seems like sometimes things get a little more chaotic when cameras are there. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but I think in this case, maybe that is the case. I had a case years ago that was televised by ABC. They had cameras in there. Hell, they had cameras in the jury room for a special that they did. But after a while, the attorneys just kind of forget about them. But when you have people camping out to see the plaintiff in the case, makes you think that maybe people will be affected by it. Cindy just got here. What time of the Daybell starts? I couldn't tell you that exactly, but we talked about the Daybells. I think we laid it out pretty good. Are you excited the Depp trials? I am. I can't wait for closing arguments. And I don't think I have anything Friday for closing for in court. So maybe we'll just be here and try to critique the closing arguments in the Heard case. Let me give you a quick preview of the closing arguments by Johnny Depp in his case against Amber Heard. Liar, liar, pants on fire. You owe me a lot of money because you damaged my career. The defense rebuttal to that argument is, it's all the truth. It's all the truth. But if it's not, you're a public figure. So screw you. You were drunk and alcoholic before I met you. You only got worse when I met you, and you ruined your career by yourself. I had nothing to do with it. Amber Heard's claims, you and your attorney slandered me and you ruined my career. You owe me $100 million because should have been in more movie gigs and had more Twitter followers by this point, and which would have been more money. And therefore you owe me $100 million. Johnny Depp, his response to that argument is, no, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Neither did my attorney. And if he did, it's all true because defamation has an absolute defense of the truth. And you're a terrible actress and you only got those gigs because I helped you out anyway. Then the jury has to decide. Liar, liar, pants on fire, true. Liar, liar, pants on fire, true, not true. I say fine for both of them, give them something and award them each $1. That's what I would do. Let's see here. I only saw a portion of the TMZ guy. He was the one making the photos, but TMZ wanted to keep the guy off the stand, which I thought was interesting. But he came voluntarily. He wasn't even under subpoena. I guess he wanted his 50 minutes of fame. I mean, it's I don't know. Gail, so she will have a hard time countersuing. She already did. He sued her. She counterclaimed, said, not only am I denying what you said, because it's the truth. That's what her defense is. I'm suing you for $100 million. I mean, you got a great tactic. Got to miss. So Gail, yeah, there's already taken place. Okie dokie. The lawyering is great to watch, though. I'll be honest with you. For a bunch of big law firms, I think this is me. I'm again. Here we go, Scott. Blah 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 blah. Okay. Remember this. Anyone go to law school, graduate, and become a lawyer. Then you have litigators. Okay. Litigators are people that they do civil litigation. Okay. Civil litigation is really not trial work, in my humble opinion. Okay. At my firm, we do some civil litigation. The reason we got into it was because I started getting hired by civil attorneys like saying, Scott, man, I haven't been to trial in like 8 years and I don't remember anything. And I don't know which way to go. And where does the jury sit? And I mean, just crazy questions like that. Well, okay, fine. Hire me. Let's go do it, man. This is what I do. And litigators like to litigate. They take depositions. They get back and forth. This nasty brawl, blah, blah, blah. And rarely do they ever go to trial. Most of their cases settle on the courtroom steps. Okay. This is the exception to the rule. I'll be honest with you. And you know, I know some people are like, oh, Scott, you think you're so good. I haven't been impressed by the lawyering. The attorney for Johnny Depp, who had a week off to prepare her cross-examination, what's her name? Camille Velasquez or something? Vasquez, her name. I saw most of that cross-examination of Heard. She did a very good job. We did a video on, I thought that she did a very good job. It should have been absolutely perfect because she had 7 days to prepare for her cross-examination. Remember, yes, you usually have an outline of what you want. You have a general idea, but it usually depends on what you get there. So when you have to hop up and you just do your cross, sometimes it comes to you right there and you're in the flow. It's great. Yeah. Did they do good? Yes. Are they worth the $1,000 an hour that they are, probably being charging Johnny Depp? I don't know about that, but hey, good for them. I'd love it if you go live for closing arguments. Love to hear your commentary. Always make me laugh. Hope you can do it. I hope I can do it too. And let me tell you, this has been a crazy, crazy week so far. And I can't believe it's already been an hour. It goes by so fast. And we didn't even have the phone lines going tonight. But yeah, so Monday I had to be on the other side of the state. So I literally jumped in the plane, flew over. It was great because if I had driven, it would have been 5 hours each way. I flew, and it was an hour each way, 2 hours. So that saved me 8 hours of time, but it was still a long day dealing with multiple cases in a jurisdiction, what have you. And then it literally feels like it's just been nonstop. And today's only Wednesday. Yesterday was busy. Then I had to go see Top Gun that I've been away for 35 years. And I felt like a kid in the candy store. I can tell you, it was great. It was great. Kelly Barker, you talk as much shit as Amber Heard's lawyers. Well, thank you, Kelly. We can talk it with the best of them. Jen Lowe, Elon Musk paid for it, in my humble opinion. Possibly. Jen Lowe, best moderator out there. Let's see here if there's any other questions. I think I got both the super chats, didn't I? The Lorraine is great to watch. I think they did. I mean, they did pretty good. I'm not gonna say. I mean, it's a lot of information. But hey, Johnny Depp wanted his day in court. He got it. Be careful what you wish for, as they say. So, all right. We had a pretty interesting show tonight. Lots of great questions, super chats. We'll continue the conversation. For those of you who are not a Patreon member, now would be a good time to do that. We're going to take a quick break, be there in 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll continue the conversation. But you can also call into the Patreon line where you can, call in. We'll have a conversation. And if you didn't get your question answered, once again, another opportunity to call in. So please do so. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see you next time on Crime Talk.